Hi, Tricky. Hello, Boku. Welcome back to the stream. How have you guys been? Hopefully good. It's been a while since I used my opening thingy. Oh. Yep. I think it's time to get started. As good as can be, all things considered, and I just got better. We get to watch Fox stream. Yay! I'm glad. Okay. Yep, that looks good. Let's go ahead and get started. Oh, that's bright. Flashbang. Ah, I had the game minimized. Red hair, yes! I went for a red tonight. It's an amazing hair color. The objectively superior hair color, if I do say so myself. There is no better than red hair. I suppose silver hair could work. White. But red is great. Let's get started. So, we're pretty close to done with step 3, right? We have late shift, boating, charity, and drive. All 4 of those are the last steps in moments in step 3. So, which one do we do? I don't remember boating. I don't particularly remember late shift. I remember charity a little bit, and I remember drive a little bit. Both of drive in particular is one of my favorites. Boating? Okay, let's start with boating. You perch at the kitchen island, whiling away the minutes until your sister joined you downstairs. There was quite an adventure planned today. Lee was coming down near the Sunset Bird area as part of what she called a little trip. Apparently, she thought how nice it would be to go on a private boat trip this summer to celebrate graduation and everything. What might have been an idle dream for most people turned into reality in Lee's hands. You'd been invited along for the ride by your best cousin. Yeah, they're so fucking rich. What? Just out of the fucking nowhere, all of a sudden, an impromptu private boat trip to celebrate graduation. Because she said it'd be nice. So she decided to make it happen. They're so rich. Oh my god. Alright. It was kind of insane she could make that happen. You were eagerly anticipating the adventure. It'd be great to see her. The idea of being in a ship worried you a little. You were pretty mellow about it all. Kind of insane she could make it happen. Okay, so it's not entirely normal for her. You knew renting a boat was possible. Of course, you did live by the beach, after all. And these things got advertised, but also you knew that it was expensive. For Lee, the cost was no object, and she wanted to share the experience. Yeah, they're so fucking rich. The cost was no object for a private boat, and that doesn't look like just any boat. That looks like a yacht. You weren't the only one who was heading out on the trip. Liz was coming, of course. Your moms had been invited, but hadn't been able to find the time to squeeze it in. And so the trip would only involve the kids of the family. So the trip would only involve quote, the trip, the kiss of the family, a term that had stuck, despite all three of you being adults now. Mom would have joked about cramping your style, but there was apparently plenty of room on the ship. Lee had been more than happy for you and Liz to bring other friends along, if you wanted. But the trip out to Sunset Bird, then even further out to where Lee and the boat would be, just wasn't feasible for most people. Not many folks lived close by. There was, naturally, one person around who would always be there for the ride. Cobb. You were just about to meet up with him outside. Eat the rich? You know what, as far as they're not bad-looking rich people, so, you know, I'll accept that. Bon appetit. Lee had been glad when you told her he'd be able to come along today. Just as you were thinking about your cousin and her plans for the day ahead, your phone sprang to life. Glancing at the display, you saw that the incoming call was from Lee herself. You answered it without pause. Hey!
Hi!
She dove straight into the topic, the trip meetup. You could hear the trill of excitement in her voice. Trill, as opposed to thrill. Is that the correct word? Trill. Yeah, no, it is. That is the correct word. Okay. 1 second, you guys. Give me a moment. Alright, you guys. Sorry about that. Back. These people are like extra white, high class, kinda rich. Nah, they're really not. They're really, really not. This is just like maybe really high upper middle class, lower end upper class. This is not extra white, high class. I'm here now and everything is all set. All you gotta do is show up and we'll be off. Ooh, I absolutely have no memory of this step. She spoke quickly, animated by anticipation. Hooray! You echoed her enthusiasm. Great, can't wait to see you. Liz and Cove are definitely still on board too, right? Yep. Wonderful. There's still a bit of time before you're due to set off. Is there anyone you want to extend a last-minute invite to? No need to keep the guest list sparse now, as like we'll be bumping into anyone else to join in when we're out in the middle of the ocean. Okay, so we have Lee, Cove, Lizzie, and ourselves, right? So 4 people. That's already ruling out a small yacht, right? Most smaller end yachts don't have that much room for people, right? How do I know this? I like watching video reviews of yachts. I like it. It's fun. Well, there's this new guy in the neighborhood I like. There's a new guy around. I think you might like him. No one really comes to mind. All right, let's play matchmaker. See if Lee is into Baxter and vice versa. Oh, you'd better invite him then. Sure, I'll see if he can squeeze a sudden boat trip into his busy schedule.
Talk to you later.
I'll let you go. I'll have to if I want to see you in here in the flesh. She uttered the last words dramatically, making them sound more like a threat than a statement. Laughing, you shook your head. Lee chuckled along down the phone. Bye, Lee. Bye. Now that your attention was free, you looked over to the stairs to see if Liz had emerged yet, but there was still no sign of her. You figured you might as well go out and see if Cobb was ready in the meantime. Liz would catch up, you were sure. You called up the stairs to let her know the plan. Send her a text. You grabbed your phone one more time to let her know where you'd gone. A sunny day greeted you. Shielding your eyes with a hand, you admired the sky. It looked like a good weather for heading out on the water. That was something. You heard your name called and turned around automatically. Cobb was the source of the call. He was standing halfway between his own house and yours. He waved at you. As he walked over, you waited for him to join you. You took a step in his direction, you ran over to him. You ran over and threw your hands around him, of course. That one. You tore across the street and pounced on him, wrapping him tightly into a hug. The winded gasp you knocked out of him turned into a chuckle of halfway. Hi. There's no other choice. You're correct. Well, look who it is. Ready to go? Cove nodded easily, blinking languidly in the sunlight. Then his mouth curved into a gentle smirk. First jet skis, now a boat. What aquatic transportation device is up next for us? My money's on a submarine. You laughed. It'd be look, as long as it's not the what was the name? The Titan submarine? As long as it's not that one, we're cool. Great. I wouldn't want we wouldn't want to have an accident if we went into that particular submarine, okay? Okay, cool. You laughed. It'd been an adventurous summer for sure. Cobb grinned, pleased that he'd amused you. Cobb glanced away, chewing his lip with consternation. Is it really okay for me to come? You snorted with laughter, recalling Lee's openness to any and all friends and acquaintances, but the troubled look on Cobb's face ended your mirth. Of course it is. You're always invited, remember? Cobb rubbed the back of his neck, frowning on it as if trying to work it out for himself. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. This is a really ritzy trip, and Lee's your cousin, not mine. Oh, honey, you're practically married to us. Of course, it's fine. I mean, the two of us, me and Lee, are friends, maybe, but it's not like we've ever hung out on our own. I'm kind of worried I'm gonna be out of place. There's no way you'd be left out, Cove. She wants you there, I promise. Cove, you're so difficult. Don't you want to go in a boat? Look at him concerned. I'm gonna go with 1 or 2. I'm thinking 1. Yeah, I'm going with 1. And that's thanks to you. His voice was affectionate, with a particular emphasis on the final U, like it was the star of the collection. Cobb managed to smile. The worry hadn't lifted from his rigid shoulders, but you could tell that he was attempting to project a little more confidence. I'm gonna go. Don't worry. Good. You were satisfied with that. And I meant to tell you, I'm gonna be inviting Baxter too. I've got to check if he's in now before we run out of time. Huh? Really? Cobb was stunned. He hadn't been prepared for any extra surprises. He shook it off, however. Alright, it's not like this isn't already gonna be awkward for me. He was joking. Mostly. I'll wait for you here. Okay, Cobb. I'll see you in a bit. You strolled over to the condo Baxter was staying in and rang the doorbell. Hitting the button had you recall the time Liz, dared you once before to ring this very bell and ding-dong ditch the mean old couple residing here. She probably hadn't expected you to accept the dare. Your chest puffed out with nostalgic pride, remembering the thrill of adrenaline and how it had fueled your little legs faster than you thought they could go. Before the old memories could claim you? The door slid open. Baxter looked out, his head tilted in interest.
Nice to see
Sorry,
you.
what a nice surprise. He folded his arms over his chest, leaning casually against the doorframe. Is there something I can do for you? Want to head out on a boat with my family in Cove? We're taking a boat trip right now. Are you on board? So, the thing is, we're going on a sort of trip now. You could come if you want to. I like too. It's got that get in looser, we're going on the trip energy. His eyes widened only briefly before resting back to his usual languorous expression. It was either an impressive show of restraint or Baxter's life involved more impromptu boat trips than yours. Perhaps both. He's rich as hell, of course it does. If you've ever played the other novel, or Life, Always and Forever, you know he's rich. He's like rich.
I can do that.
I'd love to. What, you didn't have plans already? Nah, seriously, that's great. Come on, To your surprise, Baxter's mouth curled into a little smirk. My schedule is always open for an improved itinerary. I'm flexible, do you remember? Oh. He was not only agreeing to come on the trip, but apparently cancelling some other plan in order to make it happen. Baxter was certainly something. Hey, look. A boat trip? With us? With Cobb? And any other pretty people that we may know. Right? Baxter knows what's up. He knows what he's getting if he comes with us. Right? He's smart. Thanks for keeping me in mind. I think this is going to be fun. He slipped outside. After securing the door behind him, he swept out an arm and indicated for you to lead the way. The first stop was to collect Cobb, who was waiting, as promised, where you'd left him.
Good afternoon.
Cobb, good to see you. Hi. There was still no sign of Liz. You took the opportunity to bring Baxter up to date on the plan for the day. He took in your words with interest. Only a minute or two more passed before the door to your house finally opened, Liz framed within it like a portrait. Unlike you, she had no need to shield her eyes with a hand in order to protect them from the sun's bright rays, as her hat was performing the job admirably. Spotting you, she headed straight over. She smiled warmly at you and Cobb as she approached. Her attention then promptly turned to the group's new addition. It's nice to see you again, Baxter. His eyes closed as he bowed his head in a nod ever so slightly. And the same to you. Living in the same street had given Liz and Baxter the opportunity to get to know each other over the course of the summer. Though she'd spent less time with him than you had, you'd anticipated that she wouldn't object to him tagging along on the trip. I asked him to join us today. Just as you expected, Liz didn't have much of a reaction to the change of plans. She merely raised her eyebrow. Oh, I feel like you and Lee will become fast friends, Baxter. You laughed, having thought the same thing yourself. Baxter smiled politely. With that, your little group piled into the car. It had been decided in advance that you'd all be heading over in Cobb's car. Then you set off for the journey down the coast, to where you'd be meeting Lee. You went down the California shoreline, with sparkling ocean waters on one side and craggy cliffs on the other. The world blurred by until eventually you made it safely to the large harbor. It was a far grander scale than the one it was a far grander scale than the one near Mr. Holden's shop. Boats, 2, 3, and even 5 times larger could fit. Liz took charge from there, calling up your cousin to guide you the rest of the way. Lee did her best to explain where precisely the boat was docked. Given that she was doing it without seeing where you were, and that it was an area she was only slightly familiar with herself, she did a pretty good job. It took a bit of fumbling, a little retracing of steps, as your cousin and your sister had different definitions of orange. That was Rusty Brown, Liz had protested. But before too long you heard her voice calling you, not from the phone in Liz's hand, but over the wind rolling of the ocean. Hey, Boku. Thanks for the hearts. Searching for the source of the sound, you found her on the prow of a ship, jumping into the air and waving frantically for your attention. You'd arrived. Lee dashed from the bow over to the gangway, where you boarded one by one. Hi everyone, I'm so glad you got here, okay? Yeah, this is not a cheap boat. I'm thinking minimum 10 million. Minimum. And 10 million is honestly probably pretty low. For cost, like if you were buying it. Renting it, probably a lot less. They're rich as fuck, yeah. Hi everyone, I'm glad you got here, okay? You could tell even if she said nothing, her bright grin as she saw you all spoke loud and clear. Definitely eat her. My pleasure, Boku. Although we're cousins, so might be a little off. But we're not related by blood. We're good. Perfect. Ahoy, Captain Lee. You smiled at her, you waved, you gave your cousin a high five, you excused her in a side hug, you gave her a full-on hug. Well, you know what they say. What do they say, Boku? You wrap both arms around her and pull her tight against your chest, squealing. Lee returned the hug just as tightly. After greeting you, Lee turned to look over the faces of the others who'd be joining you on your ocean voyage. Her attention was immediately pulled to the only one in the group that she'd not met before. Grinning, she approached him.
My pleasure.
I'm Lee. I'm so excited to meet the mysterious new man on the block. Oh my god, Boku, a la prima se la rima. Boku, we're not from Monterrey, okay? Not from Monterrey. Wrong part of the country, okay? What a coincidence. I was looking forward to meeting our gracious host for the day. So, la prima se la rima, Turkey, is a Spanish expression, probably Mexican expression, that is more or less... I don't think you can translate it easily to English. It's something like... It doesn't really translate, but essentially... cousin fucking is great, essentially. It's not... I'm simplifying the expression a lot, right? But... Yeah. So... the other part is that Monterrey has a reputation for incest. You know the way that the southern parts of the US have that same reputation? Country roads, take me home, etc. Yeah, except whereas the southern parts of the US are very generally kind of poor, Monterrey is legit pretty affluent, right? They're a very affluent place, so it's like a different sort of incest vibe, you know? Yeah.
To be honest.
But I must confess, I'm not that mysterious. I'm rather open. I do hope that doesn't come as a disappointment. Not at all. I can appreciate forwardness. Welcome aboard. With that, she glanced over at the others. Lee, thanks again for taking us on this lovely trip. Cope hovered awkwardly behind you and your sister. Even Ulysses' brought son had, he was too tall, and the group too small to hide effectively. He made floating eye contact with Lee, then looked away. Thank you for letting me come. The boat is cool. He chuckled nervously. Lee smiled, entertained by his bumbling phrasing. Hi, Cobe. She giggled as she spoke, unable to hide her amusement. Cobe lowered his head. You patted his arms reassuringly, stood in front of him like a shield. Couldn't help but smirk at his reaction. So 1 or 3, guys, what do you think? I'll go with 1. Oh wow, directly to this. We're gonna have a good day. You don't have to laugh at him. Cause little game of hide and seek is pretty funny. Ko smiled weakly at you, his face flushed. You could tell that he appreciated your show of support, but was still embarrassed about needing the help. The floor seemed to give beneath you, as Lee whooped with delight. You realized that the ship had pulled out into the water. Okay, so not only did they rent the ship, it has a crew. She's also paying for the crew to pilot the boat. Right? Because if we are not at the wheel, if we're not at the wheel to pilot this, then someone has to be. So renting the boat and paying a crew. Yeah, they're so fucking rich. It had been so steady while it was moored that you'd temporarily forgotten you weren't on solid ground. Now, as the boat rocked beneath your feet, there was no doubt you were truly setting sail. The little group dissipated into chatter, or headed over to the railings to watch the ocean. You were ruffled by the breeze, which seemed stronger out on the water than it was back on the shore. The floor continued to rise and fall, reminded you of standing in a bouncy house while others jumped. It was refreshing. You were curious about how this trip would go. You felt unsure. It was scary, and you were hit with nausea. I'm gonna go with, refreshing. As you let your surroundings truly sink in, you thought today was shaping up to be memorable. You were glad that you'd been able to join Lee on this trip. We can really get the party started now. Oh, wonderful. What did you have in mind? Well, I see some champagne in the back. I wouldn't be against having some. Well, the word hung in the air as your cousin stalled. It was clear that she didn't have something immediately in mind. Cope's eyes sparkled as he piped up. Can we get out of the boat, like go swimming around in the deep ocean?
No.
Sometimes you'd swear that boy was part merman, the way he was continuously drawn to the water. But Liz immediately quashed the suggestion.
No.
Nope. Her tone left no room for debate. Baxter chuckled, combing a hand through his hair. I'd prefer to stay on the boat, too. Sorry, it's not that kind of boat trip. It isn't supposed to stop anywhere. If someone did end up off in the water, the captain would call the Coast Guard and Coast Guard on us. Cope's shoulders slumped at the resounding rejection. Alright. That's disappointing. Suck it up, Cope. We'll still find something fun to do, Cope. No way am I getting in the water. You didn't comment. I'm thinking this. Well, we'll still find something fun to do, Cope. Truthfully, there isn't that much we can do on the boat that we couldn't technically do back on land. You can drink. You can drink on land. None of us are 21. But if we go up onto international waters, you could all drink. Legally. Yeah. And hey, look. There's a bar. Let's not waste it. I often take trips with my father on our boat. He always spends the time deep sea fishing. I'm not much of a fisherman, personally. Activities that could also be done while not on the boat sound excellent to me. Visibly bolstered by Baxter's support, Lee smiled warmly at him. Huh. My dad also takes me fishing sometimes, though we do it on the docks by Dad's shop. I'm not good at it either. Baxter snickered, his expression warm as he looked at Cope. He appreciated the delicate attempt to relate, especially with how standoffish Cope normally was with him. That's the fate of sons with their dads, apparently. How lucky we won't be doing that now. Yeah. Liz nodded. There's nothing wrong with some non-nautical themed activities. We could play a party game for all I care. Yeah, we'll do a party game. You saw her brow furrow for just a moment as she mentally conjured possibilities, then smoothed out as one came to mind. Oh, what about the one where something is written down and people give clues? And one person has to guess what it is. Sure, I said I'd play a party game and I stand by it. Who's guessing first? Arm wrestling contest to choose. Rock, paper, scissors. Look. We could have an arm wrestling contest to choose. Okay? The others blinked at you as you made your suggestion. Liz's expression was skeptical. And how would we decide who took turns for that? The game that is supposed to decide who's taking the first turn in the game we originally decided to play? Liz snickered, batting a hand in the air to brush away these minor details. Don't be like that, we'll make it work. It's a good idea. More games equal more fun. Together, you agreed in order to go in for this set of games. The mini competition was on, with Lee and Liz facing each other in the first round. I'm giving it to Liz. Liz was triumphant in that first game. The next challenger was Baxter. He and Liz went up against each other, and Baxter emerged victorious. Now he was waiting to see who he would go against in the next round. Meanwhile, you were gearing up for a round against Cobb. The winner would be Baxter's opponent. Look. Unless he literally lets us win in an extremely obvious way. There is literally only one possible winner in this scenario. Cobb is like 6'1", 6'4". He's tall as fuck. He's athletic. We're athletic, sure. We have muscles, sure, but we're tiny. We're like 5 foot nothing. I'd be surprised if we're tall, if we actually make it to 5 foot. Alright. Cobb stared at you with narrowed eyes. The mini game might only be a bit of meaningless fun, but Cobb meant business. Alright, he's competitive. You and Cobb took opposite facing seats at the deck as the others looked on. You locked your hands together, ready to begin. Alright, on 3. Cobb frowned as he stared at your locked hands, summoning up mental as well as physical strength. 1, 2, 3. Your arm tensed as you pushed against Cobb's. You were met with resistance. Cobb's hand wasn't easy to move. Oh, okay, you focused on the game. You blew in his face. Look over there. You brushed your foot against his legs. You leaned your face closer and battered your eyelashes at him. Alright, I like some of these. What do you think, guys? I'm thinking number 4. That seems like the best way to do this. Go for it. Alright. You brushed your foot against his legs. While Cobb was completely focused on your arm, you slid your toes closer to him. He jumped in his seat as you struck your foot against his calf. You'd successfully broken his concentration. His arm slackened against yours, and you took your chance. With a final push, you slammed his hand down. Hey! You know what? Fair. We surprised him. I could see this working as a way to beat him. Cobb slumped his shoulders, accepting defeat. You had gotten the better of him that day. His pouting session ended abruptly with a shake of his head as he refocused on what was ahead. Cobb stole a glance over at the monochrome newcomer. Then he met your eyes with complete seriousness. You can beat him. Cobb, honey, sweetie baby, no. No, I fucking can't, not without cheating. You laughed. You nodded resolutely. You sidelooked sufferingly. Cobb was so invested, and it was hilarious. Baxter watched your exchange with Cobb and waited until an appropriate moment to approach you. His smile curled. Good luck. Good luck to you, outing glug. This is gonna be fun. You stared at him silently. Good luck to you. His smile grew wider as you took Cobb's warm place at the table. Your fists locked together for the last game. The countdown began, and the two of you threw yourself into it, pushing with full force against the other. You kept your full focus on getting his hand down. You blew R into Baxter's face. Hey, quick, look over there. And you brought your face closer to his teasingly. Alright guys, what do you think? I'm thinking too. There wasn't a ruffle in Baxter's demeanor. The only reason you could even tell he was aware of what happened was an increase in the tightness of his hold. Distraction attempt was completely ineffective. That I want to see what you go with. This is good. Baxter took the challenge seriously, but didn't take long for his arm to start to bend. Ultimately, you thumped Baxter's hand flat against the table. How? How the fuck? He's a grown-ass man. We're 5 foot nothing, if that. Whatever. It was over, and the victory was yours. God, you losers. You flex your arms in pride. You had to thank them for this success. Cope covered his face again, but this time it was out of distinct bashfulness rather than defeat. You knew what was coming. Lee shot you an impressed thumbs up as Lee chuckled. I am so proud of you. Baxter applauded politely. Bravo, Cory. You did good. Hey, you know, you've always been so good at these kinds of games. You said proudly, remembering your past victories over the years. With a devious grin, Lee picked up a pen and notepad from the bar counter. She trailed the glittery pen with her fingers. Lee clarified the rules after Cobb raised a wavy eyebrow. Random words would be written down and folded up to give to another player. When it was someone's turn to be the guesser, they would show everyone else the word, but couldn't look at it themselves. The other players had to help the guesser figure out what the word was without saying it directly. Each person was allowed to say only one clue. After all the hints were given, then the guesser would have to decide. Lee gave each guest at the mini-party a piece of paper from her notepad. It was surprisingly thick, lined paper with a little starfish printed at the bottom. It's high-quality stationery. Cool. She scrounged around to find more writing implements. She managed to dig up a short pencil with an old jelly grip on it, a ballpoint pen with a logo you didn't recognize, and a purple crayon. Baxter had a nice pen with him already, so he respectfully passed on Lee's offer. She turned to you.
Okay.
Pick one. Pencil, pen, or crayon. I'm gonna go with the crayon. Can I have the crayon? Of course. You pulled the crayon from the fan assortment of options Lee had presented to you. The crayon was a lot thicker than what you were used to. It smelled like kindergarten with a hint of those restaurants that used to give crayons with their kids' menus. After the random selection of words were determined and the papers were passed around, it was time to start.
Alright.
I guess we know who's going now. You unfolded the paper given to you, careful not to peek while you showed everyone. Liz leaned in closely with a thoughtful hum. As soon as Lee had a chance to read the word, she jumped up. Dog. There's a popular type of dog, sometimes called that. It's where scientists do experiments and stuff. Ah, it's a Labrador.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a secret location. Liz gave Cove an edged look. She probably thought it would confuse you. Secret labs. It can be used for photos as well. A photography lab? Yeah, okay. You turned the paper over and started it with a piercing gaze. In tiny, neat letters, you saw the word lab. Oh, so it's not actually a dog, it's just a lab. Oh. Okay, in that case, I was going to go with... That's it. You got it. I went by Lee's... Sometimes a type of dog. Yep. Yeah, you nailed it. Everyone cheered. Liz gave you a round of applause. You looked at the paper and neat, tiny writing. You saw the word lab. You laughed. The hints the others had given you had helped you a lot. Even if Cove's clue was a little strange. No, secret labs! Come on! That's not strange, that's perfect! It's a secret lab. Did you not watch Dexter's Lab? Of course. Dexter's Lab was fun, by the way. I love this show. We should definitely keep this ball rolling. Baxter fished his paper out from his ripped pants pocket and presented it to the group. A loopy handwriting spelled out the word slide. I know, I liked that cartoon as well. It was very fun. Kids like it. It's for kids. Kids? Lee bounced base enthusiastically, holding out a hand to indicate the short height of children. Baxter nodded slowly.
All right.
It's at playgrounds, but not really small ones usually. The playground around our neighborhood doesn't have it. Have you been there? He shook his head, still perplexed. Unfortunately, I have not. Dang. You've been to playgrounds before though, right? Baxter had to pause to think on it. He shrugged.
Maybe.
In my elementary school, I did have recess, but we had sports fields more than traditional playgrounds. He went to a private school. For some reason, it's hard to picture you as a little kid. Well, I'd rather you not imagine that, so it all works out. Cope placed a finger on his cheek as he puzzled out the game's conundrum. He tapped his face absent-mindedly. It's slippery? You can't really walk on it.
Huh?
Slippery? Oh, Cobe, you're not very good at this, huh? Every clue lost Baxter even more. He had no idea what the word could be. You sit on it and then go down. It's tall and long and you have to climb up to the top. You can go on it one way but can't really get up the other way. Baxter, do you know how to do the cha-cha? It's fine if you don't get it. I'll let it. That's good. That's a good one. Penguins do it on their bellies. Ooh, penguins do it on their bellies is a really good one. I feel like he should totally get this. Cope would totally get this one. Shit. I'm gonna go with penguins. Oh, slide? That's it, slide. Baxter's floundering confidence returned in full force with a broad grin.
Excellent.
I got it. He flipped the paper over and traced his fingers across the word. He smirked at it. Thank you very much for the tip, Corey. Liz patted you on the arm with approval. Nice one, you had the magic approach that time. Who flicked open his paper and showed it to the crowd. He kept his hand at the back of the note so he couldn't see the word even if light shone through it. In blocky, wobbly text, you read the word potatoes. You pressed your lips together as you thought what you could say. The what famine in Ireland? There was a famine in Ireland. What was it about? Right? Right. Sack. Liz turned her head with an incredulous expression while Lee continued her thought. Potato sack, I guess. She jumped out, pointing right at the paper Cope had in his hand. You put them in a sack. Cope blinked. Oh my god, I love her face. She's so intense. She's so pleased with herself. Lee smiled back, full of confidence that he would come to understand eventually. It's a major vegetable you use in croquettes. It is kind of fun, isn't it? I didn't know if this would work out, but it's honestly pretty good. I don't know what croquettes are. Really? Baxter was earnestly taken aback, as if Cope just said he'd never had toast before. Maybe we should change that. There has to be somewhere in this town that serves them, right? Liz cleared her throat, saving Cope from having to respond beyond his frown. It's the Mr. Toy with different faces and things. Oh, okay, that's a good one. Mr. Potato Head. Cope tilted his head, utterly baffled at the different directions that everyone had taken.
What?
What's a Mr. Toy? Liz simply shook her head at his lack of understanding. It was your turn to try. They're brown and lumpy. Nope. Sweet versions and regular versions. Absolutely not. It's a very common starchy root vegetables. French fries. Mash and Matt thinks it's bland. You shook your head, not offering a hint. 4 and 5. I would get 3. But I don't think Cope would get 3. Cope is not academic in this one. He's sporty. He's a jock. So I think you had it right. You have it right, Cope. French fries. You gave him a look, sending the answer right to him while filling in the blank Baxter had left. Potatoes! Or a singular potato?
Yeah.
You're right, yeah! Cope repeated it again with a bright beaming grin. Potatoes! I want some French fries, me too, Boku. I would love some fries. From McDonald's. McDonald's fries are honestly still pretty good. They're still the best, right? Let me rank fries for you quickly. of the ones that I have, of the fast food fries that we have access to in Mexico that I have tried. On the top, as they should be, McDonald's fries. The best, right? There is no better choice of fries, except no substitutes. Right? So McDonald's fries. Then, exactly. After that, Trekkie, are Wendy's. Wendy's fries are absolutely delicious. They are not as crunchy and crispy as McDonald's fries, right? But they're really fucking good, especially with a lot of salt. So Wendy's is second place. Then we have Carl's Jr. Not because of the regular fries, but because of the waffle cut fries, the waffle fries. Those are third place for them. Really? You only ever had McDonald's and Burger King? Alright, so Burger King. Burger King goes at the bottom. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of Burger King. It's okay. It's not bad, per se. But Burger King is, of the bigger names in fast food, it's honestly my last choice. Coop was so cute sometimes. You couldn't help but feel happy too over his victory joy. He held his hand out to you for a celebratory high five. You smacked his hand back. You slapped his hand with a satisfying smack. He nodded, still looking ecstatic. Thanks for the hint. I don't think I would have gotten it without that. You're welcome. Are there no Wendy's over there where you live, Boku? I've never been to your particular city. I've been to your state. But yeah, I don't think I remember seeing a Wendy's there. Though it has been a long time. Yep. Congrats. Now let's try again. Let's go again. Suddenly the boat tipped forward before rocking back harshly. What the fuck? Okay. The ship must have gone over a bigger than usual wave. Liz held onto her hat desperately. Lee laughed at her immediate death grip. You never know what'll happen on the high seas. You chuckled too. Watch out, Liz, you wouldn't want to lose such a nice topper. You felt a burst of nausea come over you. You started feeling really freaked out about being in the middle of the ocean like this. Okay. No. It's not for me. I've never been freaked out by the ocean. I've been on a boat. I like it. If I had the money for it, right? If I had a spare fucking, I don't know, $100 million, I would buy myself like 10, 20, maybe $30 million boat and live in it, right? And spend the rest of the money just for the upkeep and the food and stuff like that, and I would just sleep in my fucking boat. If I had that much money, I would live on a boat. Straight up. I want one. This is funny because my sister, she's convinced she'll die on a boat. Well, she's convinced she'll die on the water, in water, but that usually goes with the boat. I actually don't remember the story of why she's convinced that she will die on water. In water, whatever. I don't remember. She told me why. You chuckled too. You and Lee chuckled together while Liz stuck up her nose. However, your sister was still smiling, and her hold had slackened. The game continued with Liz and Lee taking their turns. It was such a good time that you all decided to play a few more games. Liz turned out to be the best guesser, although that could have been because you knew her well enough to give her relevant hints. Bitch. I gave the hints and let everyone else get their answer. Lee had to stop herself from answering on the first clue she was given, but no one really minded. All in all, everyone was glad that Lee had suggested the game. Now, here's the deal. This game is great. I love it. It's fun. But this game while drunk and or stoned? Ah, mwah, even better. Oh, Lee shot you a grin. Why don't we have some drinks? There's a bar on the ship. There we go, Lee. Smart girl, smart. Cope tilted his head in disbelief. Lee continued blithely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff behind the counter. I bet one could make whatever they can think of. That sounds like an interesting challenge. There's lots of different juices and stuff. I think I've even seen strawberry puree and pineapple. The carrot juice sounds intriguing.
So.
Oh, it's a juice bar? Really? Yeah? Liz laughed and tapped Lee on the shoulder. Just so it bar, Lee. I think you gave the wrong idea. Oops, sorry for the disappointment, Cove. No alcohol is provided by the ship. That's probably required, considering the group they've got today. Man! Man! Disappointing. Disappointing. Where's the tequila? Come on. Tequila, whiskey, rum. Especially rum. They're on the beach. Come on. Well, in the sea. Where's the rum gun? To quote Captain Jack Sparrow. And gin. I don't like gin, but you have to have the 4 basics. Tequila, whiskey, rum, and gin. The 4 basics. I'm sorry. Come on. I'll make the rules. You have to have them. I'm not disappointed by that. I didn't want to get drunk on a ship. Boo, boo. I'm a little disappointed. There you go, Baxter. Lee breezed past that misunderstanding as though it hadn't even happened. I was thinking we could mix them up and get something special. Anyone interested? Cope thought about it, intrigued. Liz smirked, recognizing the potential for chaos. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. It'll be a dream, trust me. So, who wants to make the drinks?
What?
What? It was your idea. Why don't you do it? I've mixed drinks before. If anyone else wants to try, this would be a great chance. I'm a gracious hostess. Cove and I can make the drinks. Lee or I. What do you think, guys? I'll be honest. I have bartending experience. A little bit. It's been years. Literally years. Something like 8 years. Holy shit, it's been like 8 years. Oh god. Like 6 or 7, 8 years. I'm getting old. I don't like this. Guys, this is not fun. Why am I getting old? Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. No. Time doesn't fly. Stop it. Stop. I want to make drinks. Cove and I can make drinks. What do you think? Let's play bartender. Cool. You're gonna create something wonderful. I just know it. You wondered if you ought to ask for a request, but Lee hustled you off to the non-alcoholic bar. Boo, boo, take out that non. You're aging like fine wine? Aw, thank you, Boku. I kind of am, honestly. I got good genes. You're even red too? Ah, yes, 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 yes. And whenever I can also go for white. White wine too. Lee gave a brief tour of selection and various compartments before she went back to the tables. She shouted a final message over her shoulder. Make sure there's enough for everyone. She waved and you were left alone with the juice. I'm sorry, but even if there's no one behind the bar, you absolutely cannot be alone there. Look at this. There's a fucking couch. There's 2 tables. There's things for the bar. Come on. There was a fridge packed with cartons and various glass bottles of juice. Glass bottles of juice? What the fucking Richie Rich kind of juice is this? What juice comes in bottles of glass? Excuse you? Am I out of touch here, guys? Is this just me? Am I weird? I'm not weird, right? Juice doesn't come in glass bottles. Right? What? Lee had placed a pitcher in the counter for you to mix things into. Sounds like another Richie Rich thing. Yeah, that's what I thought. You stared at the options, trying to see just what you had to work with. There were a lot of choices. You reached into the fridge to take out some juice. You grabbed orange juice. Come on. So orange juice, that's the first, that's the best, right? There is no better juice than orange juice. Okay? Now, orange juice goes well with others. But I'm not a particular fan of pineapple juice. Not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of pineapple in general, though the juice can be better than other stuff. Now, strawberry juice is okay. I'll be honest, it's okay, but it doesn't really work for a drink. It's more for smoothies and shit like that, right? So we're not doing that. Cranberry is great, grape is great, but I don't think they would go well with orange, right? Mango, however, I think mango would be the perfect combination for orange juice. So let's try this. Mango orange. Now, pomegranate, it's interesting. Pomegranate is a very nice, tasty flavor. But it's not very common. Now, papaya juice. Papaya juice is an absolute hard no. I don't hate papayas. They're okay, right? Especially if you let them get super ripe, right? Because then they're sweet. But I've always maintained that papaya tastes like vomit. At least a little bit, right? It always smelled and tasted a little bit like vomit, which is, yeah, not a fun. So I'm going to veto papaya. It smells like feet. It smells like feet to you, really? I mean, like I said, I don't like it. To me, it smells like vomit. But yeah. Now, carrot juice. I'm not generally a big carrot juice person, but I think it would go well with orange and mango. You like feet, but not papaya? Fair enough, Boku. Fair enough. You know what? That's fair. Let's go for some coconut water and that's all. With your juice done, you set out some glasses and poured out some for everyone. Okay. Hey everyone, come on and get your juice. The group got up from the lounge chairs they had been sitting on and came to fetch their drinks. Everyone picked up a glass and took a sip. Liz squinted as she took a large swig of juice. She smiled. That's kind of odd, but weirdly in a good way.
Right?
I agree. It's some nice work. Yeah. Cove nodded as he took another slow sip.
Bravo.
It's refreshing. Of course. You're all welcome. My masterpiece of juice is there for everyone. The little juice experience was a good time as far as you were concerned. Constantly, you all stood close together, some still holding their juice cups. Lee's eyes scanned the group, and she giggled. This is so much nicer than having to rely on regular phone calls to catch up, right? Before anyone could respond, Lee's eyes widened. The corner of your mouth pulled into an amused smile. Not that I don't enjoy our chats from afar, it's just more fun to actually be here together.
That's fine.
We understand, and yes, this is a fantastic little party. Happy graduation, Lee, Corey, and Kobe. That was followed by more cheers in celebration of your high school careers coming to an end. Lee even lifted her glass to toast to it. When it settled down, your older sister had one more comment to add. And no one even had to fight over who gets to use a home phone. Lee threw her head back in thunderous laughter. The smile widened on your face. I remember that all the times Elizabeth here was trying to push me into being less Gavi. She needed me to just stop so she could call her other friends instead. Hey, many teens have a too cool for family face, okay? Liz's smile wavered. She crosses her arms, but then her eyes slid over to you. But I do recall Corey being equally as difficult about keeping hold of that phone. Hey, if I didn't stand my ground, I probably never would have even seen that phone. And besides, I'm the younger kid. I had to have learned it somewhere. Liz shook her head and chuckled. Fair enough.
You're welcome.
Yeah, luckily it's a-okay. I forgive Liz for being a teenager. That got a hearty laugh out of Liz. You got a quiet snicker out of Cope too. Alright, Turkey. See ya, have fun. Liz Curry kept me up to date on what was happening since his birth those difficult days. I never knew what wild thing you were gonna fill me in on next. Lee leaned in merely a step closer. The mischievous look in her eyes had you preemptively bracing for whatever she was going to say next. Like when you tell me all about your tween romance moments with Cobb. Cobb hung his head with a sigh. Even if Liz had briefly been the target, things always came back to teasing him in the end. There was a small bashful smile underneath his embarrassment. Chuckling, Liz gave him a kind pat on the shoulder. I couldn't wait to fill you in on what was happening. Hey, I had to tell somebody what was happening day to day with these people. Liz really missed out on those meaningful conversations. She didn't comment. I'm thinking... I'll go with number 1. It truly was something that you looked forward to every chance it came up. It definitely is always fun to stay in the neighborhood loop. Lee then drank the rest of her juice down to the very last drop. She made her way to the table over by Cobb and set her cup down. Actually? Cobb watched Lee as his mouth pulled into a lopsided smile. Making these juice concoctions reminds me a lot of that smoothie business down in the mall. The one that lets you pick all the fruit that goes into it. That was a good place. Yeah, it was the best and exactly what I was channeling when I came up with this idea. I'm glad you caught that finally. Sorry, I can take a while to get things sometimes. You all know that. Too true. It's okay, Cope, you're good exactly the way you are. You meant it, and you hope that your sincerity came across alright. Slowly, a warm smile spread across his face. So, Cove? She leaned towards him with a devilish grin. Do you still have that windchime Corey totally got for you? Cove brushed off her teasing and gave her a self-satisfied look. Already knowing the answer, you could feel the tips of your eyes redden.
Of course.
Tips of your ears redden.
Of course.
Of course I do. The moment broke with the sound of Liz's quiet laugh. That was all it took to get Lee laughing, and soon after, you all were soaking up the mirth of the moment too.
Well,
Though, all that aside, we shouldn't leave Baxter out of the loop either. Everyone followed her lead and turned towards the guest for this summer. His expression softened as he shrugged one shoulder.
I get it.
While it's true that I wasn't here for these stories, I do enjoy hearing about them. It's nice to only listen sometimes. Cool, really mature. Thank you. His gaze traveled from Lee to Liz and then over to you. He sighed. My cousins aren't nearly as close in age as you are, and as an only child, I'm curious what that kind of relationship is like. Well, I'm with you there. Only child solidarity. Lee nodded firmly to Baxter, and then shot at Cobb a serious look. He crossed his arms. Oh, alright. Only child solidarity? A genuine smile lit up Baxter's face. Lee clapped her hands together, pleased at the united front created. Sharing the same wavelength, you and Liz turned your faces to give one another a look. Not breaking eye contact, she reached over and put a hand on the top of your head.
thanks.
That's wonderful for you three. I'll keep Corey, thanks. Your siblings shattered into laughter. The others joined in as well. The hours were spent chatting away, sharing stories and favorite memories as the boat drifted out to sea. As time stood by, the sun hanging down low in the sky signaled that it was time to set sail back to the harbor. The warm, boisterous atmosphere from earlier had settled into a blanket of comfortable relaxation. Liz and Lee were absorbed in conversation, lounging around on the deck couch. Baxter sat across from them nodding along, and every now and then you could hear laughter coming from the three of them. There were always smiles. Cobb had his arms wrapped around you, You had your arms around Cove, leaning against each other, holding hands. Nope. Number 1. Soaking in the scene, you sighed contentedly. Your hands moved up to hold onto Cove's arms. You heard him hum happily at the added touch. The ocean breeze picked up and you closed your eyes. When you were ready, you looked back to the deck and the faces of everyone you spent the afternoon with. You never wanted to forget that view. Then, looking out at the wide open ocean, you committed every bit of the moment to memory. You quietly thought to yourself, today had certainly been an adventure. Alright. Shorter end of the stick for a memory. Okay, for a moment. Let me save up. And I'll be right back. Okay? Need to get some water. I return with water. Hydrate routine? Yes. Hell hydrate. Let's see if this goes through. Okay. Drinking ASMR. I could probably do it. I'm sure you're familiar with them. I don't actually remember the name. Those like little mini beers that they sell that are like half of what a regular beer is in size. Those could be great for a drinking ASMR. You could open more, and it would be part of the ASMR, I guess. I'll have to think about it. Okay. What do you think, Boku? Charity, late shift, or drive? Drive? Okay. We'll go for drive. Like a lazy cat, you stretched your arms above your head and yawned, blinking your eyes sleepily. You like Ryan Gosling? Fair enough. The day was warm and pleasant, and you were lounging on the couch in the living room, finding it difficult to do much in that moment. Your moms and Liz had gone out shopping, looking for some new items for your sister to take back and decorate her college dorm with. They had asked if you wanted to go with them, but you declined. For you, today was all about relaxation. Cove had dropped by to spend some time with you, content to join in with doing nothing. The two of you had been chatting idly as you lazed around, talking about the other things you had planned for the summer. You were sitting next to him, he sat on the couch while you sat on your own, couch stretched out on the other. Come on, come on, come on, come on. You are cuddling on the couch. But the only other way that it could be better would be sitting on his lap. He had an arm loosely slung around your shoulders and his head dipped down against you, while you were nestled against his side, enjoying the comfort of his company. The day dragged on, and you'd found yourself yawning more and more often between conversations. You had almost dozed off completely, when suddenly a buzz rang out, disturbing the silence. Your phone was on its charger in the kitchen, so it couldn't have been that. Cole pulled his own phone from his back pocket, and checked the screen. His movement had jostled you, so you tried to readjust your position to get it right again. It's my mom. After leaning forward and settling the phone on the coffee table in front of him, Cope hit the speaker button. Hey, what's up? Corey is here too. Corey is here too.
Hi.
Hi, Cove. Hello, Curry. You made a small noise in response. Hi, Kira. Hi, Mom 3. You're interrupting our very important do-nothing time, you know? I hope you know you're interrupting our cuddle time. Holy shit, those are some really good ones. Her light tinkling and laughter could be heard easily through the phone. Okay.
Hi.
What about... Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Mom 3. You need your forwardness was making Cobe regret putting it on speaker, but you were alright with that. Cobe, baby, I wanted to ask if you have a plan for all your junk. Cobe made a small, outraged grumble, giving you a sidelong glance. That's not junk, it's important. Mm-hmm. But you couldn't see it. You could tell by the sound of her voice that Kira was smiling.
Aha.
But is that a yes or no about the plan? He looked over at you, his mouth pulled into a tight smile. I'm still thinking about it. Corey? I'm gonna take the phone on speaker so me and Mom can go over this. It'll be quick. Cope carefully moved you off of him and took the phone from the table before pushing himself to his feet. Hit the speaker button again to turn it off and continued the conversation with his mom as he headed towards the door. The lock clicked behind him as he exited the house, and he sank back onto the cushions, idly trying to decide what to do next. After electing to grab your own phone from its charger, you resumed your position on the couch, tapping away at the screen. Your mind drifted away from the thoughts of Cove and his phone call with all the many ways your device could distract you. It was an effective enough way to kill time. And you had managed to do various little things when the door opened again and Cove returned. He gave you a smile as he approached, so you figured the conversation couldn't have gone too bad. You watched as Cove stroll over to where you were still sitting. He crossed his arms against the top corner of the couch, resting on them while bending forward to lightly kiss the top of your head.
Hey.
I'm back! Gazed at him fondly, put a hand over his, stretched up to hold his face, tilted your head and gave him a small kiss. Last one, of course! He met your lips with his, closing his eyes and letting you kiss him longer than the one he had given you just prior. So, good or bad news? He turned his head suddenly, running a hand through his hair, and letting out an exasperated breath. He seemed nervous, but you couldn't imagine why.
Fine.
It's fine, not anything to worry about. You raised an eyebrow at his tone, moving your head to the side to try and meet his eye. That doesn't explain what's going on. He shrugged and gave you a tight smile, trying to play whatever it actually was off as unimportant. There's nothing going on, just stuff I can deal with later. Some other time. He was transparently avoiding the truth, and you stared back at him, seriously, an indication that you weren't going to ignore what he was doing. Eventually, he broke beneath your stare, hanging his head in his hands and groaning. I need to take another trip to my mom's place. There's some stuff out there that I'm gonna use, so I'll have to pick it up. It wouldn't make sense to ship it, and I couldn't bring the stuff back with me last time, since I flew. Oh, suddenly you understood what the phone conversation had been about. Cope was going to drive to his mom's house in Nevada. When will you go? Mom thinks it would be best to do it now. Well, I'm still kind of free, but... Cope pouted, giving you an unhappy look, and you could see the prospect was already taking a toll on him. I don't want to. I was just there, and for even longer than usual. Why do I have to leave? Right now? When it's her last summer like this? You thought it was cute he wanted to stay. Can hack it, I want you to go either. You thought it was cute he wanted to stay. It showed how much he appreciated being there and spending time with you. Looking up again, you met his bright aquamarine eyes, finding a sad smile tugging on his lips. Oh. Suddenly his eyebrows jumped and his eyes lit up like a lamp. You could come with me. What? You should come with me. I mean, I get that the two of us live next door to each other, and my mom lives in another state. My trips there are usually to spend time with her, just the two of us. But this time it don't be like that. Well, all I'm gonna do is drive over, stay for a night, and then pack up the car in the morning and turn around again. Most of the time will be spent in the car, so it'd be good to have another person there. Plus, you'd have the chance to see my mom again and hear her place. Maybe we could even find something cool to break at on the way. I know, right? Driving date is cute. You couldn't stop yourself from laughing at his enthusiasm. He blushed a little, reining himself in. Please? I just feel like it could be fun. Please, could you think about it? I'd love to. When do we leave? I'll have to let my moms know, but as long as we've got nothing else important on the days we pick, then there's no reason I wouldn't be able to go. He grinned from ear to ear, thrilled by the news. He put both hands on your cheeks, kissing your face all over, having to bend down far to do so. But he didn't mind it a bit. Then he wrapped his arms around your neck, letting out a happy sigh.
I'm so glad.
I'm so glad. This is so great. I'll call my mom back and let her know right now. You spent some time together, going over your schedules and making plans for when you could take the trip. You needed to fit it in around both of your work schedules, which took a bit of doing, but came together in the end. Luckily, it was only a 2-day trip, so finding a couple of free days in a row wasn't impossible. It wasn't long before the dates were finally set, and all the plans were made. You were excited for the trip. Yep. A short trip sounded like the perfect way to spend some time. You could listen to music, eat snacks, and enjoy the road. No matter what you thought about things, the morning when you were due to leave arrived. It was cooler than usual, the sun barely peeking over the tops of the houses. You stood outside your house on the footpath near the road, waiting for Cobb. You yawned loudly, covering your mouth with the back of your hand. Mornings were always a struggle. With your travel bag clutched in one hand, you watched as Cobb finished packing up his car. He had organized all sorts of things, water bottles, snacks, and who knows what else. Cobb insisted he had everything under control and didn't need help. At least you could rest easy, knowing that it was all taken care of. As you waited, you glanced over Cobb's car. You knew it well. It used to belong to Mr. Holden, and when Cobb had learned to drive, it passed to him. His dad had taken the opportunity to get a newer one. It was pretty old at this point, but had served both of them well so far. You just hoped it had enough life left in it to survive a trip as long as the one you were embarking on. California to Nevada? That is hardly long. That's what, 6 hours? 7 hours, maybe 8? It's nothing. It's fine. The slam of a door closing made you jump. You snapped back to focus and saw Cobb was walking towards you. He dusted his hands off on his pants and tilted his head towards the car. That's it. Ready to go? Yeah, I'm ready. He smiled and stepped aside, giving you space to situate your own bag where you wanted it. Once everything was safely inside, he glanced back at you.
All right.
We should get started. It's gonna be a ways to go. Ooh, You hug him. Ah? He seemed surprised, but he chuckled and returned the gesture. It couldn't last for long, though. Time was of the essence. The two of you climbed into the car and buckled up. Cove in the driver's seat and you sitting shotgun. His eyes moved to you.
Thank you.
Thanks again for coming on this trip with me. Hey, I'm doing this for me too. It'll be fun. After checking the mirrors and starting the engine, you pulled out of the driveway, and the trip began. With a small sigh, you got cozy in your seat and watched the familiar houses in your neighborhood pass by. Cobb reached over to turn on the radio. A crackle of static mixed with the odd snippets of song filled the car as you flipped through the stations. Mr. Holden's car was in good condition, but it was, well, older. There was no way to plug in a phone to play music, so the radio had to do. Eventually, he settled on a top 40 station before sitting back and resting both hands on the wheel. Is this okay? Yeah, you know what I like. It works. How could I forget? He smiled, happy with the answer. Time flew by, and with it, the scenery outside your window became more and more unfamiliar. Neither of you spoke for a good long while, but the quiet was comfortable. You had become all too used to each other's company over the years. Eventually, Cole broke the silence, clearing his throat softly before he spoke. It's been too long since you and I have spent time with my mom. I know she still comes to the neighborhood sometimes, but it's not even once a year. I'm always going to hers. I'm happy that two of you are doing this. Yeah, me too. But speaking of your mom and trips, remember the time she took us on that crazy drive all across town? He shook his head at the memory, his laughter clear and bright. Oh, I remember. I kept worrying about papers and shoes while you were having a blast. It was an amazing night. He smiled quietly to himself, clutching the wheel a little more confidently. With the crinkling of his eyebrows, a look of nostalgia crossed over Cobb's features. Bob always knew how to make things memorable. I can't deny that. Silence slowly crept back into the space, and both of you thinking back on that night, and all the memories you had of it. Your elbows resting on the windowsill, you gazed out at the world that was slowly coming to life as the morning rolled by. The sun climbed higher in the sky, forcing you to adjust the visor overhead to keep it out of your eyes. Hey, do you mind reaching back for me? Cook gave you a silent glance as he drove, indicating with a nod of his head and a tiny smile. I want some chips. The salt and vinegar ones. That's a great flavor. Right? Eat whatever you want to. I brought a bunch of everything. Stretching out the seatbelt to give yourself space, you twisted in your spot and reached into the back holding the snacks. It took a bit of effort to sort through the collection of goodies stuffed inside, but eventually, the bag of chips crinkled beneath your fingers as you pulled them out, and sat back in your seat. Delicious. I'm drinking Noche Buena. It's, honestly, it's a delicious beer. They should really stop making it just like seasonal and sell it year round. They would sell a lot. I know, right? Here. Thanks, do you mind opening it? His eyes lit up at the prospect of the snacks, and he shook your head in amusement, popping the top of the bag. You poured a few chips into his hand. Want me to feed them to you? His eyes widened, and the hint of a blush creeping over his cheeks, but he steadfastly continued to face the road. No, that's okay. Can't you just pour a few into my hand? Ah, come on, Cove, it's better if I feed them to you. Remember, both hands on the wheel. Be safe about driving. Yeah, sure. Thanks. Cove held out one stretched hand. You did your best to have the chips fall into the palm, but some did end up on the floor. After that, you rolled up the top of the bag and stowed the chips safely in the bag again. When you turned to the front, it was to find Cobb crushing the fistful of chips into his mouth, crunching loudly. He wiped his hands on his pants absent-mindedly, before gripping the wheel, spilling crumbs all over the place. You're a little kid. You laughed at that. How can you eat that much at once? And I'm impressed. I'm thinking 1 or 4. I'm gonna go with 1. He snorted and pulled the hand from the wheel once more to flick the salty residue from his fingers at you. With a gasp, you raised an arm to defend yourself. You shook your head at the mess of crumbs that fell from his mouth as he chuckled. See what I mean? The hours drifted by, much the same way as that, with the two of you snacking and chatting as the day stretched on. It was fairly calm and quiet, traveling along the open road, and you found little in the way of interruptions. At one point, you passed a "Welcome to Nevada" sign and gave a tiny cheer. It was in disbelief that the two of you were seriously all the way in another state like this. Hey, if we're going to Nevada, you might as well drop by Vegas, right? Right? We are dropping by Vegas, correct? I have a feeling we're not dropping by Vegas, which is disappointing. Eventually, you had to stop for gas and made a detour at a small diner to grab a proper meal that didn't consist of chips and candy. After refueling both the car and your stomachs, the drive was back on the Gamba Adventures, yes. Just as the sun began dipping beneath the horizon and bathing the sky in a wash of orange light, Cove informed you that there wasn't too much longer left to go. You were almost there. You took shifts driving through the trip. You helped Cove stay alert while he drove. While I hate driving and would not want to help drive, I don't think I'd be able to let Cove drive by himself. The route was fairly straightforward, and you had enough practice with driving to feel comfortable doing so. When night eventually fell in a blanket of darkness, the drive finally came to an end. Cove pulled into the parking lot of Kira's apartment building, the glow of the car lights disappearing as he turned off the engine and let out a heavy sigh. We made it! We're here! The two of you exchanged tired smiles, having successfully and safely completed one half of the trip. You were relieved to have actually arrived, and eager to get out of the car and stretch your legs. You took the stairs up to the building together. After a knock, you were abruptly met by a flash of green hair as Kira opened the door and immediately took her son in her arms.
Cove.
There he is, my gigantic baby boy. Nice apartment. I like it. She squeezed him for a moment, and before she could let go, Cove embraced her tightly back. It was a hold that reaffirmed of all the love he had for her as his mom. She stroked the top of his head in response. When his grip finally loosened, she pulled back so she could examine his face. Are you even taller than the last time I saw you? Cove gave her a fond look as she patted the top of his shoulders proudly. You say that every time I'm here. It doesn't even make sense right now. My last visit wasn't that long ago. Kira simply laughed before letting him go fully and ushering the two of you into her apartment. Then she turned to you, a white grip pulling at her lips. Cory, it's nice to see you come along with. And as a bonus, you both arrived in one piece. It's good to see you, Kira. It's been too long. Kira beamed at you both, and while you would have loved nothing more than to settle down and rest after the drive, you could see she wasn't going to let you go that easily. So, how was the trip? I admit, I was just a pinch worried. We barely made it. I appreciate your concern. You felt the fussing was unnecessary. You let Cove answer that. 1 or 4? It was fine. No problems for us.
So?
We barely made it. Cove gave you a dry look, a smile tilting his lips. We handled it just fine. Kira clapped her hands together, the bracelets around her wrists jangling. I'm so proud. I can hardly believe how mature you both are. Where did all those smarts come from? Cove ran a hand over his hair with an awkward chuckle. I don't know. Maybe I got some from my parents. His mom looked at him deeply, her eyes glistening as she shook the sentimentality off with a wave of her hand.
Anywho's
You have to be half asleep already, huh? I want to keep you up much longer. Early morning and any hussies. How do you want to deal with the sleeping arrangements? I've only got my own room in Cove's, though the living room couch isn't bad. Corey can use my bed. I'll just sleep on the floor in the room. It doesn't matter for one night. Kira laughed out loud, startling you both. You raised an eyebrow at her outburst, giving her a quizzical look. Oh yeah, you just stay on the floor. You couldn't handle that much back when you were 13, with both your parents in the room. Ah, fuck. She's throwing that instant back in our faces. I don't know if you were here, Boku, but the last time we slept in a similar situation, right? We went camping, and there was an RB with everything. It was great. So I was sleeping in a loft in the RB, and Kobe was sleeping on the floor. Kira was sleeping on the couch, and Kobe's dad was sleeping next to Kobe. So when everyone was asleep, Kobe was still, awake. So I called Kobe to go up to the loft to sleep with us. And then we tried to kiss Kobe, and he freaked out and smacked his head on the top of the RB, and woke everyone up. So yeah, you'll just stay on the floor. You couldn't handle that much back when you were 13 with both your parents in the room. Kobe blushed a dark red and gaped, completely unprepared for her to pull out that embarrassing moment from the past. Her laughter continued unabated. You're going to be driving tomorrow. Do you really want to risk another potential head injury? Yep. He smacked his head on the roof of the car, of the RV. Hey. Mom. You blushed. You laughed. I want to see. Was it really necessary to talk about this? Hey. You laughed it off. Hey. He's had a long day. It's cool to tease the poor boy so late, even if it's true. Yep, she's right. That's totally what you do. Hey. I'm gonna go with this one. He's had a long day. It's cruel to tease the poor boy so late, even if it's true. Ove hung his head in defeated embarrassment, while you and Kira chuckled together. You're right. I'm just so happy you're here. Thank you for letting me have the bed. I'll take the floor. Kobe shook his head, dismissing the idea immediately. No. You're the guest. I don't want to take your bed. Well, I still don't want to take it from you, and I said it first. The two of you narrowed your eyes at each other stubbornly. Kira took her cue to step in. My house, my rules then. And you know who I have to side with? I'd like you to take the bed, Corey. You hesitated a moment, but it seemed you had to accept the hospitality. With a small sigh, you gave in. Alright. Cool. So, would you be okay with me sleeping on the floor in the room? I'd rather be there than out in the open in the living room, even if there is the couch. Yeah, you can sleep there. Kira giggled softly, drawing your attention back to her. All funny stuff aside, you need to get some sleep for tomorrow. Seems like you're getting yourself, seems like you're setting yourselves up not to get any. I know that sounds really captious, but I'm a mom. I have to say these things. Come on, we're not little kids having a sleepover. We're responsible adults, right, Corey? Yes, very responsible. No, we're not. Well, I am. Kobe is, though, I can say the same for myself. You simply smiled at him. Maybe you should sleep in the living room after all. Really? She made a good point. You know, she nodded sensibly, pleased with the decision, even though it was not. Alright, nope. Well, I am. Covious, though I can say the same for myself. Okay. Yes, very responsible. She gave the two of you a suspicious look, and you stood up straighter, trying to prove that your point. I'll leave it at that then, for now. Just remember that the walls are thin in this apartment. If you can settle down and sleep, I might have to separate you. It'll be good.
Marvelous.
Perfect. Thin walls, huh? Gonna have to keep silent. Kira clasped her hands together, her bracelets softly tinkling against each other again. It's only getting later, so I better let you prepare for bed. She nodded towards the hallway and gave you a small smile. I'll play hostess for a sec and show you where the bathroom is first, Corey, and where you'll be staying for the night. Thank you. You hoisted your travel bag over your shoulder and folded behind Kira and down the hallway. Coop shuffled along behind you, disappearing into the bedroom while his mom had you go to the restroom. The apartment was small, but nicely decorated, in soft, cool colors with plenty of artwork hanging on the walls to give it character. It was stylish and exactly what you would have expected from someone like Kira. After being shown the bathroom and wishing Kira a good night, you headed into the room and found Cove already there. He had changed into his slipwear for the night as well, and set aside his glasses already. Looking around, you found the bedroom to look much the same as the rest of the apartment, but with small ocean elements you were sure Cove must have enjoyed when he stayed there. All in all, the room was pretty and clean, though it almost looked more like a hotel guest room than a bedroom. Cove only spent a few weeks out of the year here, so it made sense that it wasn't especially lived in.
So?
What do you think? It's pretty nice, huh? Mom always keeps it clean and everything, even when I'm not here. It's a great room. Cool, I'm glad you like it. He seemed pleased enough with that response and gave you a smile before opening the zip on his bag. When you went back to the room, you jumped in bed and under the covers, just as Cove was shuffling into his sleeping bag on the floor. You waited until he was settled in before you flipped off the lights, and a soft glow from outside peeked through the blinds, casting shadows over the floor. You closed your eyes, blocking everything out.
Night.
Night, Corey. Good night, sleep tight, don't let the bedbugs bite. The room grew quiet as the two of you wound down for the night, and you found yourself listening to the sounds of the city outside the window. The noise out there was so different to what you were used to back home. Cars zooming past and people out having fun, instead of crashing waves and the ocean winds cocooning your house in their embrace. Embrace. This feels familiar, don't you think? We've been having sleepovers for years. Cub mumbled quietly and rustled his bedding, turning to face towards your location. Right? It feels like I've had this view so many times, looking up over at you, tucked into bed. He trolled off a little, and you assumed he was drifting off to sleep, too tired to continue the conversation. But then, as if a switch had been hit, he sprang up, startling you as he shot upright in his sleeping bag. Wait a minute. Why am I always on the floor? What? You raised your ravers at him through the dark. The times he slept over at your house, you got to stay in your bed. It was your bed, after all. But when it was my family hosting things, that always made sure you got a bed there. The words spilled out of him faster and faster, the pitch of his voice rising as the revelation spiraled. He'd say that you were the guest, so it was only right. No matter what, I've always been the one who takes the floor every time. This is a racket. Exactly, Boku. Exactly. I didn't want it to be that way. There's the breaks. You only realized that he was very shh and be loud, you know, to react. You were still laughing. How is that only hitting you now? Don't ask me a question. My life is crumbling. I can't believe it. This has been going on for 10 years. He stopped suddenly, and you could see through the limited light that his eyes were angled in disbelief, his frown wobbly in shock. That's how it is in my family. My mom's always thought that it was more fun and comfortable for the guests to use their own sleeping things, rather than a stranger's bed. And in my family, the guest gets the bed, because it's good to make sure your guest has a proper place to sleep. We were opposites all along, but I never even thought about it. When it looked like the situation was going to stall there, Cove sighed suddenly, shoulders slumping in sleep-addled defeat.
It's okay.
Forget it. It's too late to take back all those nights on the floor. At least I can think of myself as being really considerate. He sounded resigned to his fate, but despite looking on the bright side, he was still pouting. You sighed. I did offer for you to take the bed tonight, you know? Oh, Cove, I feel bad that you're unhappy. Thank you for making this sacrifice for me. You went over to him to cheer him up. Slipping out of bed, you kneeled down on the floor beside him, though he promptly turned away from you and continued moping. You kissed his cheek. You wrapped your arms around him. You fluffed his hair. Think of nothing else to do, you leaned in and gave him a soft peck, earning a grumble in response. However, you didn't miss the blush that spread across his cheeks and stained his skin. You said, I really appreciate what you did for me. I know, right? It's so cute. Okay, you really need to stop acting like a baby now. You said nothing, you kiss him more. You kissed him more, of course. With renewed determination, you peppered kisses over his cheeks, his forehead, and even on his eyelids when his iris closed with a flutter of lashes. He softened with each kiss, gentle mumbles escaping him and hanging in the dark between you. Your heart tightened in your chest, finding him utterly adorable in that moment. How are you feeling now? You brushed your lips tenderly against his jawline, and he made a small, contented sound. Any better? Another kiss on his forehead had him sighing and leaning into you. Are you completely enchanted? You placed a kiss on the tip of his nose, and his eyes snapped open, landing on you with a dawning realization. Stop! I'm supposed to be upset about the floor thing! A quiet laugh slipped out of you before you could stop it. Even past the dim light, you saw the flush spreading across Cove's face, all the way to the tip of his ears. He sulked, and upon noticing your grin, he gave you a playful nudge to go back to bed, which with a sense of satisfaction you did. With a tired sigh, he flopped back down. I can make do with the floor for old time's sake. Some real humor came back to his tone. It's basically a tradition by now. Are you really sure you don't want the bed? Why don't we share? Why don't we share? It's big enough. Cove inhaled deeply, the fabric of his sleeping bag crinkling loudly as he fidgeted beneath. I told my mom I was gonna stay on the floor. You frowned, wondering when that had ever stopped him before. Did you really plan on going through with that? No. He hesitated a little, the silence stretching between you. You couldn't help but smile to yourself. You knew him well. The sleeping bag rustled again, and through the dim light, you saw him stand and head towards the bed. He took in a deep breath as he ran his hands across the top of the blanket, gathering his nerves as his eyes met yours. And then he paused, head tilted to the side, as if silently asking permission. Well, what are you waiting for? You shuffled over to make room for him, as he pulled the bedding up and crawled beneath the covers, leaving the two of you close together, but not quite touching. He exhaled a heavy breath as he laid down on his side, his head getting comfy in the pillow next to yours. Hey Tricky, welcome back. So, we're doing Drive, and you remember what happened in the road trip? You remember how the road trip ended? The incident with the failed attempt at a first kiss? So at the start of this, when we're getting the sleeping arrangements sorted, guess what Kira brought up? Yeah, she mentioned that as incident to Cove. So, we of course promised that we would be good boys and girls and say I would take the bed, he would take the floor. He realized that in the entire life he's known us, he's always taken the floor. And now I convinced him to get on the bed with us. He exhaled a heavy breath as he lay down on his side, his head getting comfy in the pillow next to yours. You smiled softly through the dark, thinking that it felt good to have him so close. You felt better when he was around. He raised his hands and delicately brushed the tips over your cheeks. drawing a shaky sigh from your lips. His touch was warm and feather light, making you feel tingly all over. When his eyes met yours again, you found yourself lost in them, the world becoming still and silent around you. Then he froze, his muscles tensing as he closed up like a clam and his breath hissed in his throat. He attempted to whisper something, but it was completely lost on you. With that having to suffice as a warning, Kobe jumped out of the bed and crashed down on the floor, his head held in his hands as he took in a few deep, stuttering breaths. You bolted upright in the bed, staring down at him with a mixture of alarm and bemusement. Are you okay?
I'm always like this.
I thought it'd feel like it did before when we were younger, but it's different now. I'm sorry, Kara, I'm really sorry. I'm just so... He panted deeply in and out, as though he had just finished running an entire marathon. After finally steadying his breathing to a normal rhythm, he crawled back into his sleeping bag and huddled down on the floor, his back turned to you. Oh, damn. I was so looking forward to it. Sorry. It was kind of flattering, I guess. It was very clear how much of an impact you had on him. We can always try again another night. You need to apologize. Thank you for trying. I'm not surprised that this happened again, you didn't see. We can always try again another night. He made a small noise, acknowledging that he had heard you, but said no more. With the event over, you laid back down in bed alone for this night. The next day dawned, bringing with it the sounds of birds chirping happily outside the window. You opened your eyes slowly, letting them adjust to the light as you tried to recall where you were, and remembering the unfamiliar sight of Kobe's second bedroom. You had woken up on your own, reached over to the alarm, and Kobe nudged you awake. I'm thinking this one. Rise and shine, Corey! Kobe shook your shoulder and you groaned dramatically and buried your head beneath your pillow. 5 more minutes? No way! We gotta get started. Sitting up in bed, you let out a yawn and stretched your arms up over your head. You still felt groggy. You felt okay. You were quite refreshed. I'm gonna go with groggy because it's the morning. It takes me hours to wake up. You were used to sleeping in longer than this, and the late night hadn't helped. Morning. The two of you were on completely different wavelengths right now. You pulled yourself out of bed, grabbing a fresh change of clothes and your toiletries before heading to the bathroom. After all that, you met Kobe back in his room. He was sitting on the floor when you entered, sorting through a bunch of stuff in a box, determining what to bring and what to leave behind. Hey, can you pull out the stuff in those drawers? You nodded, though he hadn't even looked. Hey Aaron, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Good to have you. You nodded, though he hadn't even looked from his task, so you knew he wouldn't have seen. Heading over to his drawers, you started to the task of taking out various items, setting them on the ground in front of Kobe. Hey Trix, welcome back. Good to see you. After a while, it became clear to you that Kobe was acting strange whenever you went near him. He was flinching over your presence. It happened a few more times before you couldn't take the awkwardness any longer. You dropped the stuff you were holding down in front of him and raised a questioning eyebrow. Is everything okay?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry about last night. Again. I know, right? He grew up nicely. He quietly squeaked the second part of his thought. About not staying in the bed with you. I know you try not to mind or be mad at me, but I wish I didn't have to make you accept me backtracking all the time. He swallowed thickly, struggling to find the right words to explain himself. I do think it felt nice, really. Really, it's just also not bad, but good in an inconvenient way.
I mean...
Laying together like that, being so close, it gets too hot, you know? Uh-huh, sure, okay. How goes romancing the wallflower? So, I don't know if you were here for the road trip, but during the road trip, we invited him to the bed in the RB. We tried to kiss him. He freaked out, smacked his head on the roof of the RB, and woke everyone up. And no one ever left him live it down. Bye, Boku. Take care. Sleep well. Right? No one let him live it down. So now, we're at his mom's house. And I asked him to get into bed with us. And he freaked out again. Damn, COVID vaccine has had you burned out the last few days. Fever, coughing, it's that. Damn. Damn. But hey, at least you're vaccinated now. Which is a bad reaction is better than getting COVID. How old is the character now? 18. They just graduated high school. His cheeks flushed with color, and he immediately trailed off, his eyes firmly fixed on the floor. I get it. You will stay the whole night next time, right? You haven't been back since 2 years ago? Nah, that's fine. That doesn't matter as far as the reaction goes. At least it shouldn't. It was that intense for you, huh? Maybe I'm the one who should apologize. I'm sorry to bother you. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's what I signed up for with you. Do better next time. Wow, this one's fucking toxic as shit. What? Not being the length of vaccination between each vaccination doesn't matter. Yeah, it does. It shouldn't matter, right? It's just about how you react to that specific vaccine, rather than anything else. Yeah, no, absolutely not. This is toxic as shit. This is not as toxic, but it's definitely passive aggressive. Now, number two is just number one, but better. His eyes widened, a pink tinge creeping onto his cheeks before he could duck his head enough to hide it. What? Just don't worry about it. You don't need to do anything. Let's get back to packing. Alright, let's see what one looks like.
I mean...
What do you like this guy? I don't know, he's just sweet. It's also, you know, the only romantic option that you have without buying DLCs. And while Baxter is fun, and Derek is okay, he's the main romantic lead. Don't worry, when the next visual novel comes out, you'll get to see the throuple. I'm gonna go for the throuple for that one, 100%. His eyes widened, a pink tinge creeping into his cheeks before he could duck his head enough to hide it. Will you? Now that you know what to expect, the OT3? Yes, I'm going for the OT3 in Our Life, Always and Forever. This is beginning and always, and the next one is always and forever, or forever and something, whatever. It has an OT3 option. Probably. Okay, next time then. Yeah, how about we go back to packing? With it more or less resolved, you went to grab some more items as Kobe focused on the box in front of him once again. No, that's the next one. This is the first visual novel of this like universe, right? And the other one is new. It's a completely different one. Oh hey, look at this. When you turned towards the sound of Ko's voice, you found him digging through one of the drawers beneath the bed.
Neat.
Here's something I definitely need to bring. Neat. A small stack of papers. You immediately recognized the handwriting as your own. These were letters you had sent him when he was away. He kept them the whole time. I was only lending you those, so I think I'll take them back. It's adorable that you care so much for them. You started to feel emotional. Of course you should take them. I mean, do you have to play through this one and then take your file to the new game as a Suicode. No. It's a completely different thing. Completely different characters. I think the only one that you see that is the same character from this one to the other one is Baxter. You get to be Baxter's childhood friend while growing up. You started to feel emotionally. One number 4? Okay, you're romantic, you Trix. Look at you. Cope looked up at you when you sniffled quietly, seemingly concerned. You wiped away the tears that were building in your eyes, feeling a little silly. Sorry. He smiled at you, his face softening. Why would you apologize? It's alright. It's wonderful. Thank you.
It's nice.
These are special. It was important having a piece of you with me when we were apart. I feel the same way. That's why I gave them to you. You are a man of many debts. Yes, you are, Trix. Yes, you are. Cope smiled, pleased that the feeling was mutual, but then the expression became more amused. And did you keep the souvenirs I brought back? Of course. Nope, you said jokingly. This is good shit for beer. I mean, 2 is fine. He shook his head with a grin. His grin grew to completion. Alright, fine. Let's go with 1. It's okay. Thanks. Another hour passed by in silence, and you were happy to see you were making great progress with Cope's room, with only the closet left to sort through. You took a minute to take a mouthful of water from your bottle, and perched on the edge of the bed, feeling productive. Cope glanced over at you and paused, putting down the tape gun he had been using to seal up his boxes. You raised an eyebrow. You know, it's really strange to see you sitting in this room. Why? He frowned a little, his eyes distant as his voice quiet when he spoke next. During the visit to Mom's, when I was sitting alone in this room, I'd sometimes think about how you weren't here. It was a weird feeling at the time, that you just weren't around, and now that you're here, in this exact place, I don't know how to explain the feeling. He shrugged it off and smiled a little, as though he'd said enough already. And I didn't want to risk sounding silly. I don't actually know. I've never played the NSFW DLC. There is one. There is an NSFW DLC pack, but I've never played it. I know it exists, but I've never played it. I think I have it somewhere in one of my hard drives, right? But that's, you know, that's not a small. Wait, you were kidding? No, I'm not kidding. There really is an NSFW. What was the word? Brain, wake up. NSFW DLC. Yeah. Yeah, there is. There is for sure. He shrugged it off and smiled a little, as though he'd said enough already and didn't want to risk sounding silly. Life is pretty confusing, is all. I don't know what you thought about me when you were away. That's true, life makes no sense. I missed you so much when you were gone. His brows crinkled as he looked at you solemnly, his eyes bright with emotion. I miss you too, all the time. It made you feel better to know that, somehow. To know that you were stuck at home, missing his company. To know that when you were stuck at home missing his company, that he was missing yours too. He looked away, satisfied, heading over to the closet and the last of the items to be sorted. Before long, every box, closet, and drawer had been thoroughly combed through, with the items either neatly packed up in boxes or organized and returned to their proper place. With a sigh, you glanced around the bedroom and the work you had done together. Okay, so, small detail. You glance. No, because Had. Done. Right? You cannot change from present tense to past perfect. Past perfect. Like that. It's either one or the other. With a sigh, you glanced around the bedroom and the work you had done together. There.
Alright.
Fixed. We're done. Good job to us. I'm gonna go change out of my PJs for the drive. Yeah. When the two of you headed out into the living room, ready to get everything finalized and hit the road, you found Kira in the kitchen, pouring a cup of tea. Yeah. So, it's pretty great in general. Cope headed towards her, leaning casually against the counter that divided the two spaces. Hey, you didn't have to get up so early.
Come on.
Are you crazy? Of course I have to see you off before you go. You can't sneak away while I'm out cold. She beamed at him, and in all honesty seemed more than happy to be up and getting ready for the day. Do you want some breakfast? I've got some muesli. Oh, muesli is so good. I love muesli. Or eggs and toast. Oh, and some of that fruity cereal you used to love. That's okay. We should really eat on the road. Kira smiled sadly, a little disappointed, but she seemed to understand that your time was running thin. I thought that you might say that. In that case, I packed you some snacks for the road.
What do you think?
Even if you don't end up eating them, take it anyway, just in case. You can always feed them to Cliff when you get home. And tell him I said hi. Cope laughed and shook his head, knowing his dad would love nothing more than to polish off whatever food Kira had prepared for him.
Thank
For you. Thanks, Mom. You really didn't have to. Thanks for the snacks. That's nice of you to organize this for us. It must be a mom thing to know stuff like that. I'll definitely eat whatever you packed. What do you think? 4 or 4? 3 or 4? Where's my headphone charging case? Or hell, maybe you want another one besides 3 and 4. You want 2? That's nice of you to organize this for us. Good enough. Not a problem. I wanted to make sure you'd be properly fed at least. She returned your smile with one of her own, before putting her cup of tea aside. Well, I'll help you get the car packed.
Sure.
Sure, thanks. The three of you got a move on, taking the boxes from Cove's bedroom and heading down to fill the back seat of his car, until there was barely an inch of space left in the back and trunk. With all of you helping, it only took a couple of trips to move everything, and you were done before you knew it. Then it was truly time to say goodbye. You convened back inside the apartment, where Kira looked over the two of you with a quiet smile. It was great to see you both. Thank you for coming. She gave each of you a hug, and you felt a little sad that you hadn't been able to spend more time with her. It was good to see you, Mom. It was good to see you too, Mom. Cope embraced her in return, the two of them holding onto each other for a few seconds longer. I'll miss you, but I'll visit again soon.
Of course.
You better. Hey, we should make plans for you to visit us too. One moment. Right. Okay. Change to the other set of headphones, because this one. Is there any branching or conflict ever in this? Yeah, kinda. It's not major, as far as I know. You can reject Cope, right? And it changes things, especially if you have the DLC for other romantic pairings, right? But you can absolutely reject Cope. That is a thing that happens. That is possible, rather. I just don't want to. Hey, we should make plans for you to visit us too. I'll let you know when it's settled. I'm guessing that's a bad end. Not really a bad end, it's just a different end. I don't think there exists a bad end for this visual novel. I'd love that. Kira bundled all the stuff she prepared into a bag and handed them over to you. You took a quick peek at what she had packed. There was fruit, nuts. Okay. There were fruits, nuts, seeds, hard-boiled eggs, and some veggie sticks.
Cool.
Oh, good to see we've got some fresh food options now. The snacks I brought weren't. Kira shook her head at him and let out a soft laugh, as though she wouldn't have expected anything else. Oh yeah, no, the mom ships us, the father ships us, the other moms ship us, everyone in the game ships us. So, rejecting him? I know, me too. Kira shook her head at him and let out a soft laugh, as though she wouldn't have expected anything else. I seriously hope you're feeding yourself better than that at home. Yeah, of course, just not on trips. I can live with that at least. She looked over at him fondly, her eyes at least focused on his face and filling with emotion. I'm going to miss you, baby.
Me too.
Me too. Thank you for letting us come. We'll be together again before you know it. You know what to say. I'm going with 3 here. I hope so. Kira put an arm around you both, pulling you in tight to her sides for one final squeeze.
Bye.
Have a safe trip. Well, with a last goodbye, you exited the apartment, though Cope hesitated for a moment in the door, his expression distant. You weren't sure what he was doing, though you tentatively took a step towards him. Everything okay? Your voice seemed to bring him back to earth, and he shook his head to clear his thoughts, his green hair swaying from side to side.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go. With that, the two of you headed back down to the car, ready to make the long trip home. Soon enough, you were on the wide open road with a car full of Cove's things and only one destination, Sunset Bird, California. The drive went as smoothly as could be expected, with the morning slowly creeping into midday as the mile flew by. After a while, you switched places with Cove and took over driving for a couple of hours. The day flew by in a whir of open road and sunshine. Before you knew it, it was early afternoon. By that point, this is not early afternoon. If it is dark, this is not early afternoon. This is evening. Or is it just blue? I don't know, whatever. By that point, you had already crossed the state line. Cope announced that he planned a little stop on the way home. He was quite pleased with himself as you arrived at the precipice. What is this? So yeah, this is set in California. I blame bad animators, or maybe that's the ocean in the background. Who knows? The Redwood National Park. Shaded beneath the canopy of enormous redwood trees, you drove along. When Cope parked the car, you pushed the door to get out, and the first thing you did was look up. Enormous redwood trees surrounded you on all sides, their massive trunks shooting straight up into a canopy of foliage overhead. There were too many of them to count, stretching on and on as far as you could see. You squinted against the sunlight that was peeking through the leaves and dancing on the paths around you. It's great, right? He smiled at you from the roof of the car, before glancing around the place fondly. Remember the trip our families took here that one summer? It was cool going on a journey and seeing the forest in person, even if we didn't stay very long. And I guess we can stay for even less this time, but oh well. It just seemed like a good idea to stop by. Who knows when we'll get another chance. His voice got a little softer at the end. It seemed to be bittersweet for him, being in a place he was so fond of, but not having the time to appreciate it fully. You were pleased to have stopped here. Way up north? I'll trust your word for it. I don't actually know where this is. Like, I've been to California, but this must have been like Los Angeles, San Francisco, those places. 30 miles from the border with Oregon? Yeah, then it's for sure Pretty close up north. Where this is, I haven't been, but this is very far up north in the state. Yeah, alright. Yeah, then definitely pretty far up north. Not anywhere close to where I've been in California. You were pleased to have stopped here. It was a beautiful place to stretch your legs and take in some fresh air. Some fresh air. Thanks for bringing me here. There will be more chances in the future, I promise. I'll put up with you for the trees. I'll put up with this place for you. Laugh, dragging his weight. Okay, no. Nah, too mean. There will be more chances in the future. I promise. Cobb smiled, shoving his hands in his pockets and dipping his head. I'm gonna hold you to that. The two of you walked around for a while, completely dwarfed by the sheer scale of the redwoods. It kind of put your view of yourself and everything in a strange perspective. You took in a lungful of clean forest air, listening to the sounds of birdsong and the cool breeze rustling through the underbrush, taking advantage of the space to move around freely. However you felt about being here, it was a totally different scene than sitting in that old car for hours and hours. Natural World Heritage Sites, click that. I'll check it out after the stream. You wrapped an arm around Cobb. You felt Cobb nudge your hand. Let's let the boy take a little bit of initiative. You didn't pull away, and he intertwined his fingers through yours, smiling at you as he relaxed into your touch and rubbed the back of your hand softly with his thumb. Being here again, you couldn't help but reminisce on what else had happened during the trip you had taken here all that time ago. There were a lot of things that had reminded you of it recently. You looked over at Cobb, who seemed to be lost in the peace of the place, and you wonder if any of it crossed his mind. Smiling at the side, you thought back on what had been a highlight of that long-gone vacation. You know, we almost kissed on that RV trip. Elizabeth teased us mercilessly in that trip. Our families were so close. Remember how a bird stole your dad's lunch? I haven't forgotten the classic ankle chat. I'm giving 1 or 5. There's literally 2 choices here. 2, 3, and 4 are not acceptable. It's 1 or 5. So during the trip, when they were like 13, Cobb mentions that he likes girls with anklets. That he likes the look, right? So when we found that out, at the end of that summer, we put on a fuck ton of anklets for him, essentially. That was funny. I'm gonna go with number 1. Do you remember that? Cobb snorted and covered his mouth with a hand, but you could still see the flush of pink on the tip of his nose. Yeah, I remember. I almost gave myself a concussion. It's still probably in the top 10 most humiliating things I've ever done. I'd be surprised if it's anything other than top 1. You chuckled at the memory, and how your parents had cut the two of you in the loft together after that. I'm sorry about that, by the way.
Don't worry
Don't
about
be.
it.
It was kind of funny. The suggestions I have for this guy are decidedly not safe for work. Now you got me curious. What kinds of suggestions are you thinking about? Give me 1 moment. I'll be right back. I have a quick idle meeting. Be back in a moment. I return from that important meeting. Oh shit. Okay, what's this? I see your suggestions, Trix. They are indeed not safe for work, but they are also the correct suggestions. Alright. You continued chatting about the trip a little while longer, about the things you had seen and done and even eaten. A lot of the memories Cobb had of the trip were similar to your own, but you were also surprised to hear of a few other things from his point of view. So much had happened that there was no shortage of things to talk about. The place certainly had a nostalgic quality about it. Hey, I know I see the laugh, Trix, but here's the thing. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. Put some makeup on him. Put a dress on him. Right? And then a chastity cage. And then there's a strap on. You're right. You are correct. Your suggestions were correct. You can say that on there? Kinda, but so it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. You can probably kinda sorta say that on air. It's fine. So much had happened that there was no shortage of things to talk about. The place certainly had a nostalgic quality about it. Hey, Corey. You looked over at the sound of Cobb saying your name to find him smiling at you, seeming relaxed amongst the nature of the park. Has anyone ever told you before that you have gorgeous eyes? Because you do. Ah, look at this boy. He's got some compliments. His compliment game is not bad. By the way, the eyes, I chose eyes exactly like my character, like myself. Red eyes are the best. You object to the cage, most of the rest isn't bad. You think you object to the cage, Trix. You think you do. But don't worry. I'm sure someone would be happy to teach you that you are wrong about objecting to the cage. Don't worry about it. The worst left his lips and you froze, completely taken aback by the compliment. Trickster flips the bird. See, with a cage, you wouldn't be able to. And you'd like it. He blushed, but his gaze remained on you. That's another thing that happened during the trip. You're so sweet, your eyes are much more beautiful. He put a hand to your forehead, pretending to swoon. You found it difficult to hide your blush. I could never forget. I was not prepared for this conversation. Welcome back, Trekkie. Don't worry about it. It's a great, completely wholesome, utterly and completely safe for work, normal conversation. You can't just say things like that with no warning. What do you think, guys? 1 through 6. There's some good options here. I didn't hear no bell, Trix. I didn't hear no bell. I could keep going. Don't tempt me. I'm thinking 6. Cobb chuckled at your dramatic response, shaking his head in amusement. You're holding me back for the sake of Trekkie? Fair enough. Your spirits were, BT Doves. I'm pretty sure Trekkie is equally as you are. In some aspects. Your spirits were light as you ambled past information boards and picnic areas. But before long, you decided it was time to bring this short stop to an end and head back to the car to get back on the road again. Cope sighed when you finally reached the vehicle, jangling the keys in his hand before unlocking the doors.
Well,
I wish we didn't have to go, but we're going to be responsible and not stay longer than we should. How grown up of you. He smiled slightly, and with that, the two of you jumped into the car, buckled in, and he put it in drive. You're getting closer and closer to town as the sun started setting, though we're still far enough away that the radio stations were unfamiliar to you. Ko twisted the dial this way and that before stumbling onto the channel with a song he seemed to like. That was a rare gift from the fates in a sea of static. Strange radio jockeys and grating tunes. Strange radio jockeys are the best radio jockeys, right? Regular radio jockeys, whatever. They're a dime a dozen. Strange ones that are good enough to still have a job? Mwah, good shit. You want those. Radio doesn't play the music you like most of the time. Trix, you like black metal, death metal, and all that sort of metal? Yes, of course radio doesn't play it. The 90% of the United States would have a heart attack and clutch their pearls at how, and you know, die of shock at hearing such demonic songs and music. His face immediately brightened at the sound of it, and he drummed his fingers along the bottom of the steering wheel happily. Sitting back in his seat, he bobbed his head and shimmied his shoulders in time to the tune, all while mouthing along to the words. Occasionally, he even lifted one hand from the wheel to gesture with his fingers for a specific line. You smiled. You chuckled softly. You shook your head. You sang along. You ignored it. You like those demonic songs? Only some of them. Only some of them. Actually, remind me to send you a link to Mago de Oz's Cantata del Diablo and... Fuck, I'm forgetting the name of the song. La Posada de los Muertos. Remind me. Smiled. You got the impression he was pleased to be heading back home after everything. The song ended, and Cobb reached over to start cycling through the radio stations again. Upon finding nothing tolerable, he flipped the dial off in defeat and leaned back in his seat with a sigh. Do you like the stuff from Flesh God Apocalypse? If memory serves, it was okay, but a little too much heavy for me. You rested your head on your hand and stared out at the window as the sky darkened, watching the landscape slowly melt into more familiar views. The miles went on, and any energy you had earlier was beginning to drain away. You imagined home and your family. You'd be there together soon. You know, I spent all these years living in Sunset Bird and taking a few weeks each summer visiting my mom in that second room. That's not gonna happen anymore, not really.
I mean...
I can still see my parents, but the way it all works between us has changed. Forever. He paused, the silence stretching. A serious look settled on his face, his thoughts far away. I like symphonic metal. I don't particularly like death metal. He paused, the silence stretching, a serious look settling on his face, his thoughts far away. What is the difference between regular death metal and quote-unquote technical death metal? Okay. Alright. Tech Death is among the most complex music in the metal genre. Okay. In what regard? You can say complex all you like, but that doesn't really mean anything. I'm excited to be on the brink of real adulthood. I'm worried about how things will be in the future. I feel the same about my parents too. You should lighten up. Tough. Tough. 2 or 3, I would think. I'm gonna go with 2. So many things will be different. How I'm ready for... Cosmo pulled into a tight line and he gave a small nod. You got the feeling that he understood how you felt. He started straight ahead, down the long road. The path looked like it never ended from where you were, but that wasn't true. Eventually, he found a few more words to say.
I'm so
I
glad.
think it's good we were able to do this trip. Without any parents or chaperones, it was just us. We did it all. I don't know, I feel a little more independent now. A little more ready for what's ahead. I'm not sure I'll ever be ready. Yeah, I'm gonna go with this one. The thought of leaving home, my mom's, it's scary. Cobb sighed solemnly. The topic seemed to wear on Cobb, and he made an attempt to find something else to speak on. So I'm kinda sad about getting back. I'm gonna miss having you right there tonight. He cleared his throat quietly, though said nothing more. You smiled to yourself a little at hearing him say something like that out loud. I'm gonna miss it too. And with the feelings confirmed as mutual, the two of you fell into a comfortable silence. The sky outside grew even darker as the hours passed by. The stars blinking on like tiny fireflies painting onto a canvas of blue. Distinct features of the subgenre include a dynamic song structure, complex and atypical rhythmic structures, abundant use of diminishing chords and arpeggios, frequent employment of odd-time chord. I mean, I see the text. I don't particularly understand it, but I guess I can see that it might be complex. The scenery continued transitioning between open roads, industrial areas, and beach towns, becoming increasingly recognizable as time went on. You felt somewhat disconnected from the world around you as you watched through your window, your tired mind growing hazy. Funny enough, Trix, I know a guy who has a degree in music theory as well. I was actually thinking about asking him. It was strange. It was a strange reflective feeling, but peaceful nonetheless. Soon enough, the world would return to you, and you'd find your feet firmly on the ground. It couldn't be helped. The adventure would end, life would continue, but your memories would linger on. G fucking G, boys and girls. That was lovely. That was lovely as hell. Normally, I would go for another one, maybe 2 more, and finish up step 3. But I actually have some stuff to do tomorrow in the morning, so I have to. I kind of have to end the stream relatively early. But I still had some fun here. Drive was very different and still very similar to how I remembered it. I'm quite glad. Thank you for coming, you two. Thank you for watching. Remember, like and subscribe if you haven't already, but definitely if you haven't liked, do like it. It helps a lot. Same for the subscription, but you know, that's just general. There's a lot of DLC stuff there. Yeah, check this out. So DLC. Fuck. mother of fuck. Utter mother of fuck. No, I did not save. But DLC info. The wedding DLC is here. The NSFW DLC doesn't actually have a list here, but it does exist. I'll fix that thing later, but for now, guys, take care, have a good night, and I'll see you probably tomorrow, actually. You alright? Probably tomorrow. Take care, have a good night, and stream over. Bye.